picture this. You walk into a room where you're supposed to belong. Maybe it's a family gathering, a workplace, a relationship, a group of friends. People smile, conversations flow, and yet inside you, there's a quiet tightening in your chest. You feel like a guest in every space you enter. You're present, but not rooted. You're seen, but not held. That feeling didn't start today. And I'll explain where it really comes from later. If you've spent your life feeling like you don't quite fit anywhere, I want you to hear this clearly. This is not a personality flaw. It's not social awkwardness. It's not because you're too sensitive or too deep. It's the result of something you learned very early about connection. And in a few minutes, I'm going to explain why that learning still shapes your relationships now, even when you don't realize it. Silence plays a bigger role in this than most people think. Silence doesn't just mean being quiet. It means holding back parts of yourself. It means pausing before you speak your truth. It means sensing the emotional temperature of the room and adjusting yourself to keep things smooth. For empaths, silence became a survival skill. And survival skills are hard to let go of. Even when they start hurting you, no contact and emotional distance feel especially painful for you because your nervous system learned that connection had to be maintained. Distance once felt unsafe. Silence once meant being alone with feelings no one helped you carry. So now, when a relationship goes quiet or uncertain, your body reacts fast. Your mind races. You feel the urge to reach out, to explain, to fix, to restore balance. But here's the part that matters. Silence feels hard not because it's wrong, but because it removes the role you were trained to play, and that's exactly why it's powerful. When you stop reaching out, you're no longer managing other people's comfort. You're no longer smoothing emotional edges. You're sitting with yourself. And for someone who learned early to belong by adapting, that can feel unbearable. Because without the effort, you're left with a deeper question. Who are you when you stop trying to fit? I promised earlier to explain where this began, and I will. But first, you need to understand why chasing belonging lowers your position, not socially, internally. Chasing doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like being agreeable, like over-explaining, like staying quiet when something hurts, like laughing things off, like being the one who understands everyone else but feels misunderstood herself. Every time you do this, you send yourself a message. The message is not spoken, but it's learned. It says your acceptance depends on adjustment. Over time, that creates a deep sense of not belonging anywhere, because you're never fully there. You're always edited. Remember this line, let it land. You don't find belonging by disappearing. When you chase belonging, you trade authenticity for safety. And safety built on self-erasure never feels like home. It feels temporary, conditional, exhausting. This is why silence later in life starts to feel different. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop over-functioning, there's an emptiness at first. That emptiness is not a lack of love. It's the absence of performance. And performance has been covering a wound you didn't have words for. Here's where the curiosity deepens. Many empaths didn't grow up without love. They grew up without emotional attunement. There may have been care, but not consistent understanding. You may have been praised for being mature, easy, thoughtful. What wasn't celebrated was your need to be met. So you learned to meet yourself quietly and meet others loudly. I'll explain more about how this shapes adult relationships later. For now, notice how silence affects you. When you don't reach out, when you don't feel space, discomfort rises. That discomfort is not loneliness in the usual sense. It's unfamiliarity. You're no longer playing the role that kept you included. And without that role, you feel exposed. But exposure is where truth lives. No contact feels powerful because it breaks the loop. The loop where your sense of belonging depends on effort. Silence interrupts that cycle long enough for you to feel something new. Ground, stillness, even grief. Grief for how long you tried to belong by bending. You don't find belonging by disappearing. Chasing lowers your position because it teaches your nervous system that connection is scarce and conditional. Silence teaches something else. It teaches that you can survive without earning your place. That lesson changes how you show up everywhere. Not louder, calmer, not harder, clearer. You might wonder why some people seem at ease wherever they go. It's not confidence. It's not charisma. It's that they were allowed to take up space without consequence early on. They didn't have to read the room to feel safe. They didn't have to earn presence by being helpful or quiet or agreeable. That difference matters because sensitivity without safety turns into self-abandonment. This pattern shows up strongly in relationships. You give deeply. You listen fully. You stay longer than you should. And still, something feels off. You feel close but not at home, loved but not rooted. That's because love that requires you to shrink never satisfies the part of you that wants to belong. Belonging doesn't come from being needed. It comes from being known. Silence after years of adapting is not coldness. It's recovery. It's the first time you stop translating yourself for others. And yes, that can feel lonely at first, because not everyone knows how to meet you when you're no longer trying to fit. That doesn't mean you're losing people. It means you're revealing who was connected to your performance and who can connect to your truth. We're going to talk next about what actually happens when you stop chasing belonging, how your nervous system changes, how relationships respond, and why feeling like you don't belong is often the beginning of finding where you finally do. When you step back, the first thing that happens is internal, not relational. Your nervous system begins to recalibrate. For a long time, it learned that closeness came from effort, from paying attention, from adjusting. So when you stop reaching out, stop filling the space, your body reacts as if something essential has been taken away. Your chest tightens, your thoughts speed up. You feel the urge to restore contact, not because something is wrong now, but because something once was. Psychologically, stepping back breaks an old agreement you made with the world. The agreement said, I will make myself easier to love if you let me stay. That agreement kept you connected, but it also kept you divided from yourself. When you stop reaching, you stop reinforcing that bargain. And without it, your system doesn't know what to do at first. That confusion feels like anxiety, but it's actually the beginning of separation, the healthy kind. This is where many people mistake growth for danger. You're not losing connection. You're losing the habit of earning it. Now let's talk about what changes in their mind when you stop reaching out, not as a strategy, as a consequence. When you were always available, always responsive, always accommodating, there was no pause in the dynamic, no interruption. Your presence filled the emotional space completely. When you step back, the space appears, and space forces awareness. They begin to notice what you were providing, not just attention, but emotional regulation, listening, understanding, the feeling of being held without effort. Some people respond to this with reflection, others respond with irritation. Some lean in, some pull away. But all responses reveal something true. This is important. Silence does not make someone care. It shows you whether they already did. You don't find belonging by disappearing. If someone only feels connected to you when you're managing the relationship, that connection was never mutual. When you stop reaching out, you remove the scaffolding, and whatever remains is real. That can be painful to see, but it's also freeing. Now, let's get practical, because the urge to text or call can feel overwhelming. This urge is not a thought problem, it's a body problem. It shows up as restlessness, tightness, a sense of urgency. The mistake is trying to reason it away. The goal is to regulate it. When the urge hits, pause for 10 minutes. Set a timer if you need to. Tell yourself you're not deciding anything right now. You're just waiting. Breathe slowly. Longer exhales than inhales. This signals safety to your nervous system. Then, write the message you want to send, but don't send it. Be honest. Don't make it sound calm or reasonable. Let it be raw. Then read it back and ask one question. What am I actually asking for? Reassurance? Belonging? To feel chosen? Naming the need reduces the urgency. You don't need to judge it. Just see it. Next, move your body. Walk, stretch, shake your arms, do something physical. Chasing used to release this energy. Now you need a new outlet. This isn't distraction, it's completion. The stress response needs somewhere to go. And one more thing that matters deeply. Stop monitoring their life. No checking updates. No rereading old messages. That keeps the attachment alive while pretending you've stepped back. Real distance is clean. It's not punishment. It's presence with yourself. You don't find belonging by disappearing. So what should you focus on daily instead of chasing? You focus on rebuilding a sense of inner permission, permission to take up space without apology, permission to have needs without justifying them, permission to rest without earning it. Create structure in your days. When relationships feel uncertain, people spiral because their days lose shape. Wake up at a consistent time. Eat regularly. Get outside. These simple acts tell your nervous system that life is stable, even when connection feels unclear. Focus on noticing where you abandon yourself, not to shame it, to interrupt it. When you feel the urge to explain, pause. When you feel the urge to smooth things over, stop. Ask yourself whose comfort you're prioritizing in that moment. That question alone can change your behavior. You may notice emotions surfacing that were buried under adaptation, anger, sadness, even relief. Let them come. These emotions were always there. They just didn't have space to move. Silence gives them room. Something subtle also changes in you as days pass. Your sensitivity becomes information instead of obligation. You start to feel where you actually belong, not where you can survive. Your body becomes your guide again. You don't find belonging by disappearing. Here's the paradox. When you stop chasing belonging, you may feel more alone at first. That loneliness is not rejection. It's the absence of false connection. And false connection is loud. Real connection is quiet. It doesn't require performance. It doesn't drain you. It doesn't ask you to disappear. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It happens through repetition. Each time you don't reach out, each time you sit with discomfort instead of escaping it, each time you choose honesty over adaptation, even silently, you might notice that some relationships fade. Let them. They were held together by who you were pretending to be. Others may deepen. Let that happen slowly. You are learning a new way of relating, one that doesn't cost you yourself. You don't find belonging by disappearing. What we haven't talked about yet is what happens next. What to do if someone comes back once you stop chasing, and what it means if they don't. Because silence always reveals truth. Either way, if they come back after you stepped into silence, this is where everything you've learned gets tested. Not by what they say, but by how you respond. The old version of you would feel relief first. Your body would soften. Your mind would rush to repair, explain, reconnect. But this moment isn't about relief. It's about truth. You don't rush back into closeness just because someone reaches out. You slow the pace. You listen more than you speak. You notice whether their return carries curiosity about you or just discomfort about losing access. You pay attention to consistency, not intensity. Anyone can feel something in a moment. Few people are willing to show up differently over time. Boundaries are not punishments. They are information. They tell the other person how to be in your life. So you don't overgive, you don't fill silences, you don't resume emotional labor by default. You let them meet you where you are now, not where you used to bend yourself to be. This is where standards matter, not spoken demands, internal clarity. You know what drains you now. You know what feels safe. You don't argue yourself out of that knowledge just to keep someone close. If they are willing to respect your pace, your needs, your limits, then something new can grow. If they push, minimize, or rush you, they're showing you they want the old dynamic back. And that dynamic is what cost you yourself. You don't find belonging by disappearing. Now let's talk about the other possibility. What if they don't come back? What if the silence stays quiet? This is where dignity becomes your anchor. You don't chase closure from someone who couldn't meet you with presence. Closure isn't a conversation. It's an internal decision. It's the moment you stop waiting for someone to validate what your body already knows. You grieve, not just the person, but the hope. The version of the future you were holding on to. You let yourself feel the sadness without turning it into self-blame. You don't ask what you did wrong. You ask what you learned. And what you learn is this: you are carrying more than your share. You are sustaining connection with sensitivity and effort, not reciprocity. The silence didn't cause the ending. It revealed it. This is hard to accept because empaths often believe love is proven through endurance, through staying, through understanding more. But belonging is not built on tolerance. It's built on resonance, on being met. You don't find belonging by disappearing. When someone doesn't return, you don't harden. You don't close your heart. You integrate the experience. You let it sharpen your discernment, not your defenses. You take your depth seriously. You stop offering it to places that can't hold it. Moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means reorganizing your life around self-respect instead of hope. It means choosing environments, friendships, and relationships where you don't have to translate yourself to be understood. You invest in what steadies you, your routines, your health, your creativity, your voice. You build a life that feels inhabited so that when connection arrives, it adds to you. It doesn't rescue you. Silence reveals truth either way. If someone comes back willing to meet you with presence, honesty, and respect, the silence showed you what was missing before. If they don't, the silence showed you that the bond depended on your self-erasure. Both truths are painful. Both are freeing. Here's the fast summary. Stepping back calms your nervous system and restores your center. Chasing lowers your position and clouds clarity. Silence removes illusion and shows you what's real. If they return, you move slowly, with boundaries and standards. If they don't, you choose dignity, grief, and forward motion. In every outcome, you keep yourself. One clear action step. For the next 7 days, practice clean silence. No reaching out, no checking, no explaining. Use the energy you would spend chasing to ground your body and structure your days. Let your nervous system learn that you are safe without performing for connection. You don't find belonging by disappearing. You find it by staying with yourself long enough that only what's real can reach you. If this spoke to you, the next video explores why emotionally sensitive women often confuse intensity with intimacy and how to tell the difference before it costs you your peace.